Like my mind is on it. I'm focused on it. I want that thing, or I want a conversation on that thing right now. Who's to say 5 minutes from now something else didn't grab my attention? Like, oh, now I need to go do this thing, or oh, I gotta do laundry, or cook food, or take care of the kids, or these 5 emails just came up, and now I'm focused on these things, and I completely forget that this is the thing that I was like adamant about. And if you can catch people in that emotional state of, I just said I want this, I just clicked on this thing, I just said, wow, that got my attention, click, that is the moment that you want to have that initial conversation with them. So the faster you can get to it, the better.
Oh, today I'm so excited, Tanner, to be talking about this topic. We're going to be going over lead conversions and the top three mistakes that business owners make when converting their leads. And so this is something that I've struggled with and something that I'm excited to remedy today with these tools. So let's dive in, Tanner.
I love this topic. It's a fun one. I literally was sitting down over the weekend and like thinking through this process, and sometimes it's the conversation on, oh, I don't have enough leads. Sometimes it's a conversation, I don't have enough sales. And usually when we dig in, we find out that more often than not, it's not necessarily that we don't have enough leads. It's that we don't recognize some of the leads that we have coming in, or we might be seeing some kind of breakdown somewhere in the process where we're just not converting the leads that we do have from any type of lead source or channel. So excited to jump into this one. I kind of thought of kind of the three most common mistakes that we can dig into. But before we kind of jump into that, what's been your experience as you go through and you're generating leads and trying to convert different things? What have been some of the friction points or frustrations that you've seen?
Oh, there are quite a few different experiences I've had. I think one most recently is not recognizing a lead or like not maybe fully like if I'm just having a conversation with someone and really tuning into, hey, this person could be a lead. Because in my industry, like many of us, we're probably talking to people more often than not at networking events or on a Zoom call or something where maybe it's not a lead, like you're thinking about it as this is a lead, but it could be a lead. So I think recognizing is one topic that I'd love to dive into, as well as just making sure I'm setting myself up for success to turn that lead into a next step.
Recognizing. I like that. I'm going to make a note here. So I want to make sure that we take a minute and come back to that one. That'd be a fun one to maybe add as kind of a, I don't know,
Bonus.
call it, yeah, bonus mistake. I don't know that I would really call it a mistake, but I think it'd be a good one for us to touch on. Um, so let's talk through, or let's highlight kind of the three key mistakes. 'Cause I'm sure it's going to resonate with some of the audiences as they listen or play this back. But the first one that we tend to see a lot is either no follow up or a really slow response time. So just taking a really long time to respond to some of these leads that may have said, "Hey, I've got some interest here." So that tends to be kind of the first one that we see. The second one tends to be a poor qualification process. I've got a whole bunch of people coming in, or I'm talking to a whole bunch of people in a networking event, and I just don't have a really clear way to properly qualify them. Are they worth having the additional conversation? If I have 100 people that I'm talking to, are all 100 actually a good fit for the services that I provide, or not? How do we make that determination? So poor qualification process is kind of that second one. And then the third primary mistake is a weak or confusing sales process. And oftentimes it's just not fully defined what that sales process looks like, especially if you're newer into business and you're just starting. You're like, oh, I've got this service, I'm going to go sell it. I don't know what it's going to look like when I actually start having a conversation, but I'll figure it out along the way. That kind of is another one of those weak areas or kind of mistakes. So no follow up or slow response time, poor qualification process, and weaker, confusing sales process are kind of three primary mistakes. And then I love the, maybe we just need to recognize when somebody could be a lead. Like at what point do they say, hey, you know what, Kay, I'm interested in the stuff that you do, and that kind of jump starts that conversation. So those are the 3/4 different things to, I think, dig into a little bit today. Which one resonates with you the most out of those four? Which one do you want to start talking about a little bit deeper?
Oh, the one about like the no follow-up or slow respond time, because I once or recently heard a piece of advice for business owners, and she was talking about how there was a business owner who he is like lightning fast at response. Like that is the quickest way to get ahead in business, especially when it comes to leads, is just respond quickly. Like communication, be open. And so I want to dive into that because it took me a long time to get to that point. And that's like really the biggest thing that can save you your leads, that can convert those leads into next steps, is just being on top of the pulse of your responding.
Mhm.
And like people want to say yes to you, and like adopting that mindset that, yeah, people want your stuff, you're providing something of value, let them, allow
Yeah.
them by responding, calling, DMing, and be on all the channels as possible.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's especially if you don't have a huge team and you're trying to like manage this all on your own, it can get a little daunting. It can be difficult to jump in and make sure that you've got lightning fast response times. But I've read a number of different books. I've studied a bunch of different courses, and almost unanimously, it's like the time from lead coming in to first response or that first connect. That's always one of the most important metrics to take a look at. And it's like every time I read something new about it, that time frame just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Mhm.
The conversion code by Chris Smith is a one I really enjoy because he's just got a whole bunch of data like this in there, and it's something like you close, I don't know if it's like 50-60%. I'm butchering the stats, but it's a significant amount of leads you convert at a much higher rate if you contact them within the first 5 minutes versus what most businesses have traditionally do. It's more like a 12, 24, even 48-hour turn time before you actually get a response on something. So if you're a
Mhm.
consumer, now sure, you can kind of say different situations, different services, different industries maybe have slightly different times. But if you're a consumer and you're saying, hey, I'm interested in something, whether it's I'm responding to an ad, I'm picking up the phone, I'm calling somebody, I'm talking to you at a networking event and say, hey, okay, I'm interested in this, right? Whatever that is, if I'm a consumer and I'm saying that, I'm interested right then and there.
Mhm.
Like my mind is on it. I'm focused on it. I want that thing or I want a conversation on that thing right now. Who's to say 5 minutes from now something else didn't grab my attention? Like, oh, now I need to go do this thing, or oh, I gotta do laundry or cook food or take care of the kids, or these 5 emails just came up, and now I'm focused on these things, and I completely forget that this is the thing that I was like adamant about. And if you can catch people in that emotional state of, I just said I want this, I just clicked on this thing, I just said, wow, that got my attention, click. That is the moment that you want to have that initial conversation with them. So the faster you can get to it, the better. Um, I believe that there's a lot more tools out there today that's making it a lot easier to have those conversations or at least have those initial touch points. Even if you can't get quite to the full conversation yet, can you use some sort of automated system that sends them a text message and say, hey, just got your information, looking forward to chatting. I just want to make sure, or do you have any additional questions before I give you a call? I don't know, something like that, right? Something that's going to give them an immediate. I clicked this, I got this as a response. Beautiful. They know and want to take care of me. So there are some really good tools out there for it. I think the more you can jump on that and find ways that are going to work for your business, the better. But close that gap. Get is that time from first interest, whatever you want to call that, to first connect, get that as short as possible, and the likelihood of converting those leads will go up.
Oh, yes. I have two tried and true methods for this, especially when I'm in a networking situation where I'm talking with someone on the spot. Two tools that I love to have is I have a QR code as my background screen on my phone that links to whatever it is that um, I'm I'm offering at that time, whether it be like going to an event or signing up for a free webinar, whatever that may be for you. Having that QR code right there that you just literally light up your screen and they can scan it and go directly to it while they're hyped and excited about it, they're more likely to push yes. And my second tip is I do a lot in Instagram DMs, but you could do this with texting, you could do this with anything. I will get their contact info right away, whether you bump your phones or again, get in the DMs. And I will say, hey, this is Kay from XYZ networking event. So they have they know, oh yeah, Kay, she did this. I was super excited about that. So they see that DM right away. And so I take the time, it takes not even an extra minute to just send a quick note right after you get their contact info while they're in the excitement of whatever the moment is. So those are my two methods to converting.
I'm really glad you said that because and I think we talked about this maybe a few months ago when we were talking about networking and things like that. But especially if you meet somebody in person, is for the first time, follow up with them as quickly as possible, whether it's a direct message on Instagram or LinkedIn or something else like that, or it's just, hey, I got their business card and I need to send them an email. It
Mhm.
still amazes me the number of networking events I go to and, we exchange business cards and different things like that. It's probably like 90% of the people never send a follow up. Never
Mhm.
send just a quick email saying, I'm putting the information in my CRM and I've got the email now. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to send a quick email that says, hey, Kay, great meeting you at XYZ event. Want to make sure you had all my contact information as well. Look forward to seeing you at the next one. Even if they're not a fit and you don't want to have a conversation with them later on, it shows that you care enough just to send them a note and say, hey, it was genuinely nice to actually connect with you today. Like it goes such a long way. And it amazes me the number of people that don't do it. So I love the DM approach. It's probably a little bit more personable than just a generic email. But doing something like that, like same day, if you can, okay, if you're doing a networking event late at night, okay, maybe next day. But if I'm doing a networking event at like noon on a Thursday, I'm going to make sure that those emails go out before end of day on Thursday. It just shows that you care and it's like a genuine connection.
100%. And you touched on a really great topic there too. Like you said, most people aren't going to do the response. So when we sit and wait for an email or wait for a DM from someone, we're just like losing them. When we be the change and we take the initiative to drop that first hello, I think that's going to set you up for such a better success rate. Like you said, even if it's not someone who necessarily is a good fit for your service or anything, but just to be a genuine good person first. I always say keep it real, just have a conversation. Don't go in with the mindset always to sell, like hard sell, but just create connections because sometimes a warm connection that creates a really happy memory in their mind. And then when they maybe know somebody who would be a good fit, they'll be like, oh yeah, Tanner, he is an incredible coach. I have a friend that would definitely want to use this because you're keeping that warmth in their mind and not that cringy, like, oh, that salesy Kay. It's like, oh yeah, Kay was super fun and she was doing this. And like create, like be human first and sales will come.
Yep. Yeah, this actually I think is a perfect segue into that second big mistake of poor qualification process. Um, I what we've talked a lot about here, whether it's quick connection after somebody clicks on a Facebook ad, or it's a quick response after meeting somebody at a networking event, or any different lead strategy out there. Once you get a hold of them in whatever form, like the entire purpose is to generate a conversation. And the conversation really should be the process where you can pre-qualify people. So you ask questions. You and I talk a lot about this. How do we ask better questions? How do we ask deeper questions? How do we peel back the layers and learn more about the people that are in front of us? Now, that's great just from a relationship and rapport building standpoint, but it also gives you an insight of, hey, are they a good fit to go a little bit deeper into, or might they be a good fit for somebody else to chat with? They may be a great fit for somebody else, right? So being able to ask questions and start to pre-qualify them. So let's take your DM strategy as an example. I was on Instagram a few days ago, kind of going through a different process, got into a conversation with somebody. Um, Great conversation, totally cold, right? Never had connected with this individual before, and we're going through and we're having a bit of conversation, and he's asking me questions, I'm asking him questions. We're just kind of going back and forth and learning different things about each other's businesses and kind of what they're interested in, things like that. And I found, really not a great fit for what we do at this point, but I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the authenticity that comes along with it. And, maybe I will connect him with somebody else one day because of that. But I was able to pre-qualify and not say, hey, why don't we schedule a full 1 hour meeting and then go through a full sales process only to find out that it wasn't a good fit anyway. We kind of pre-qualify with questions. Now, this can be done in direct message, could be done in email, could be done at a networking event, as an example. Like, what's your scripting look like? But I think identifying what are those key questions that you need to kind of weave into your conversations with people to learn, are they a good fit for you or might they be a good fit for somebody else?
Mhm. 100%. This is a great topic. And this one actually, I'm still refining and I'm learning. And I think the work we're doing, through Action Coach has helped me to just have that mentally in my brain when I'm talking to anybody. Like, what category is this person, this brand going into? And it really has helped me to, sometimes it's a pass the baton. Maybe I know somebody who would be a better fit for them for something they're working on, or it's a back pocket. Maybe it's a later conversation, but let's stay on the pulse with this person. Or maybe it's a great fit that, like you said, like sometimes they come out of the blue. You meet people in the elevator, you meet people at events you're not looking to network at, and you never know when that like divine moment will happen of, oh, this is an opportunity. And knowing in the back of your mind kind of what those buckets are is really going to
Mm.
help you when your radar will be on when you're just out having conversations. I mean, you could be at a grocery store, a gym, anywhere. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, which is the great segue into recognizing that somebody might or might not be a lead, right? So we've got the qualification process, but sometimes it's just recognizing when people start asking questions that are at least adjacent to buying questions. But if you can hear the pain point that you solve. When we think of business in general, we're usually solving problems for other people. Now, they could be really big problems, they could be small problems, they could be a combination of problems, but usually there's some sort of friction point or something that we're solving, right? If I'm selling coffee, I'm selling uh, the solution to being thirsty and wanting caffeine, or the comfort that comes with now drinking your favorite coffee drink, right? There's something that we're solving. So being able to pick up on those things in conversation and just be super tuned into the things that are problems that your solution can solve, I think helps with some of those things. And just because you identify it doesn't mean you necessarily have to tackle it at that moment. I think, especially in real conversation, there's going to be is this the appropriate moment or not? Yes, we want quick response time, but balancing that in the moment with, hey, they just identified that they've got a problem, but the context of this conversation probably doesn't lead us to actually saying something outright about it right now, but I'm going to put that in my back pocket. And maybe once this conversation's over, I'm just going to mention to him, hey, I heard you say X, Y, and Z. Um, would you be open to a further conversation on that? We can set that
Mhm.
up some other time. But it gives the ability to kind of open the door to it as long as your ears are kind of perking up to, they articulated they had something that was an issue or a challenge or a frustration or whatever it is. And I know that I have the ability to solve that. Let's make sure that we at least open the door to a conversation in a very relationship oriented way.
Oh, definitely. That is such a key point too, is like just that having that sense of awareness of yourself. And when you're going into any situation, know that anything can come up, and having all the tools in place, like these three topics, having these tools in place is so helpful to just setting you up for that next step with somebody. And also remembering to be human first. I think that's like the hugest thing. Be human first, compassionate, and then you're going to pick up on those awarenesses. You want to help them. And that's the beautiful thing. And so seeing that, like hearing those pain points from them, how can you solve that problem? Or maybe down the road, like you said, back pocket that idea, help them later, or somebody else maybe help them. But putting out those good ripples into your business, it's, I call it the ripple effect, and it brings you back goodness
Mm.
when it comes to leads, when it comes to just being a good human, all of that comes back around. And that's kind of a more philosophical side to things, but a very, very real part of it. And so I always remember be a human first and a salesperson second.
I like that. People buy from people more than anything else. So I do think that that human component of it is important. That all being said, let's bring this home by talking a little bit about that final mistake, which is kind of a weak or confusing sales process. Um, Probably the thing I see the most is it's not necessarily confusing, it's just that it's not fully developed or not existent for lack of better word, right? Um, at the end of the day, we still need to solve the problem and invite people into our world, which means we do still have to be salespeople. It's not a bad word. Sales is just professionally helping other people to make a purchase decision. You're
Mhm.
you are the professional that helps that. So how do you guide them in that journey? And everyone's business will be a little bit different. In our business, professional services, the sales cycle tends to be longer. There's multiple steps to go through, but it's clearly defined. We start with an initial conversation. We go through some discovery related stuff. We get into what matters to the business that we're having a conversation with, and we offer them the opportunity to kind of try before you buy. We're going to take through a specific coaching process, right? Um, for others, it may be different than that. It might be a initial conversation, sales conversation, but having that defined is really important, and not just from a it's a guided tour to take them where they need to go, but it's also really important for you as the individual that's running the sales process, whether you're the sales team member, the sales manager, the actual owner of the business, to see where am I losing my prospects. If I truly believe in the things that I do or that my business does, and I know that we can solve these problems, and we're only getting people through the first conversation, and we're dropping everybody off before we even get into a real sales conversation, what's causing that? Do we know where that breakdown is? Because if there's truly something there that we can solve, why are we losing them at this point? How do we fix that? And that's having that defined, really strong sales process will allow us to kind of fix those gaps along the way. So I'm a huge believer in it. Yes, be authentic, be human first, but have a process, have a guided tour that you take your prospects to that allows them to buy the thing that they actually need for the solution that you provide.
100%. I think the synergy of both of those aspects together can create a seriously awesome and foolproof like protocol for when you are selling. And it gives you the confidence as in sales too, because once you're prepped and you have that in your mind, then it makes it much more easy to stay authentic in the sales conversation because you have both of those components working synergistically.
Yeah. I'll give you one additional nugget on this too. When you've got a really clearly defined sales process and you can articulate this is what it's going to be every single time, there's that consistency with it. If one of your big lead channels is going to be any form of referrals, whether that's client referrals, it's kind of word of mouth referrals from just people that you're meeting at networking events, it's specific strategic partners that can refer business over to you, they're all way more apt to actually send you business if they know what that person's going to expect.
Mm.
Like they don't want to burn their relationship capital with these people. They're going to send you a referral and they know what's going to happen. They know what the feeling is going to be through that sales process. They know what those questions and conversations, everything are going to be like. They're much more likely to send you business versus I don't actually know what happens when I say, okay, here's somebody I'm introducing you to. The clearer and more defined that is, and the better you can articulate that to some of your referral partners, the easier it will be to have those channels continue to produce for you long term.
100%. Tanner, this has been such a great conversation. I think the nuggets in this can help anybody up their skills in their selling as well as give you that confidence to do it and to know that there are all sorts of great tools like this out there that you don't have to go about this alone. You have the support of your mentors, your coaches, the people around you to help you gain the skills. And that is what the beautiful thing about this conversation was. So I really appreciate your insight and this awesome dynamic we had today.
A lot of fun. Response speed, qualification, sales process. Take those lessons, start to implement them in your business.
Let's go.